Right. I know it's been quite a while. Well, I'd like to start off by sharing an amusing story. When I was young, I and my fellow classmates were rather obsessed with our heights. The Holy Grail was reaching 5 feet tall. Okay, I'm talking with the girls here. Well, I guess this was the same for the boys. But, would we ever reach that height? If so, when? One weekend when I was 12, my aunt measured me, and oh, there's our adorable kitty again. Apparently, I was 4'11" and 7/8. She rounded up and said I was 5 feet tall, which was fabulous news. So a few days later, I was discussing this with some classmates and said, yeah, my aunt said I was 5 feet tall. And all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. And suddenly, many of my classmates were incredibly invested in and interested in proving that I couldn't possibly be 5 feet tall, but their way of proving it was to get in my face and yell, "You're not 5 feet tall!" Eventually, I was measured and determined to be, an eighth of an inch short. And I said, well, my aunt must have rounded up. This is a moot point. I'm still growing. In a couple of months, I'll be above 5 feet tall. And that seemed to mollify them. And at the time, I was flummoxed. I couldn't figure out why so many people were so interested in how tall I was. Eventually, I figured it out. For years, I was one of the short kids. Line us up by height, and there was never more than 8 or 9 kids in front of me, and that was in a class of 41. But when I turned 12, I grew several inches, and I went from being one of the short kids to being one in the middle. And as I grew a little taller, I became one of the taller kids. But for years, I was one of the short kids. How dare I grow out of that label? The point of this story is that all children categorize as a comforting tactic to help them make sense of the world around them. But this tactic can backfire when someone grows literally or figuratively out of the box they've been put in. As people mature, they learn that change is part of life and to accept when others, don't stay within the categories that they've been put in. Or rather, some of them mature past this point. So I'm sure you've seen or experienced this. For example, the family troublemaker becomes very responsible and they turn their life around. But even though the old label has been inaccurate for decades, some family members still treat them as though they were that troublemaking kid. Because that's become their role, and they're obliged to occupy this role for them, at least in some people's opinion, for the rest of their natural lives. It's tragic, but some people, even as adults, still cling to the mental rigidity of their childhood and still use this comfort tactic to make sense of their world, or at least, the world as they see it, even if the labels are inaccurate. And they don't react well to change because they've never matured enough to accept the reality of change. So, point is, the next time you're at a family gathering and dealing with family members who are still playing from an old script, remember that not everyone has the capacity to deal with change in a healthy and mature way. This is about their limitations, not yours. That's it.